Hello and welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for the latest episode of the Betting Breakdown, our brand new weekly podcast looking ahead to the upcoming week of sport, marking your card for all the key events and hopefully pointing you in the direction of a few winners. My name is Matt Hill, I'm in the hosting chair every Wednesday, and joining me is an array of guests from Team Odds Now and beyond. Once again, I catch up with Felix Morson-Pate, a football trader and one of our regular contributors over on oddsnow.com. We've got plenty to talk about, including the second leg of all the European semi-final action, the Premier League title race taking another twist, and the upcoming playoffs in the English Football League. Races Now's Adam Smido Smith pops back in once again to talk about a fantastic weekend of action at Newmarket where the 2000 and 1000 Guineas took place, and we also have a little look ahead to an exciting weekend of action from Ascot and Lingfield. And finally, as always, with your other sport roundup, it'll be me, Matt Hill, taking a little look at the continued dominance on the floor of Vessel Nyman in the world of professional darts, and we also have a little recap on the World Snooker Championship, which was sensationally won by Chinese youngster Wu Yiza. So that's what's coming up on this week's show. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because it really helps us grow as a channel. And if you enjoy this week's pod, don't forget to hit us a thumbs up and drop us a comment. Right, time to dive in. Well, first things first, let's talk football. And European semi-finals are once again top of the agenda this week, with Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday playing host to the semi-finals for the Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League, respectively. 6 teams will book their places in continental finals. And although some of those ties will have actually concluded by the time this episode goes live, I picked the brains of our resident football expert, Felix Morson-Pate, to see who he thinks will progress. We also had a brief chat about the Premier League title race and the upcoming playoffs in the English Football League. Well, back once again to talk all things football is Felix Morson-Pate, our resident football expert and trader. And Felix, we've got another busy week of European action that we'll start with. And then we've probably got, to give a little mention to the Premier League title race, which has taken another twist. We've got the EFL playoffs now to look forward to. Let's start where we said at the top with Champions League, semi-final, second legs to come. By the time most people watch this, Arsenal Atletico will already be at a conclusion, but just briefly, we should touch on it. 1-1 after the first leg in Madrid. Arsenal 8-13 to win inside 90 minutes here with Atleti 5-1. I don't want to make you look a mug by trying to predict something that everyone else already knows what's happened. But what's your feelings going into this game this evening as we speak on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. I think Arsenal will be very happy with the draw away in Madrid. They played quite well, I thought. And the market ended up coming for them quite strongly just before kickoff. So they're obviously rightful favourites. They've got a tremendous home record under Mikel Arteta in general and this season. Look, again, we said it last time. It's not going to be easy for them. Atleti are going to fight for it, but I think at the Emirates with the home crowd, the prevailing quality will just about come through. I quite like the overs actually. I can see an early goal and it causing a little bit of more excitement than we expect. And I actually saw today Arsenal are the top scoring Premier League team in 2026, which doesn't seem right. But, when they get in their groove, they can score, and they proved that in the league phase against Atleti as well. So I'd expect them to get the job done, but I think it'll be an entertaining game.
Great stat, that. Boring Arsenal top scorers in the Premier League. Fantastic. Well, I could have made you look a mug last week, couldn't I, when I made you predict Bayern PSG. You said this is the greatest semi-final in the last decade, and I think we'll probably give you that one, given it finished 5-4 after the first leg. And it just leaves me wondering what the hell is going to happen in this second leg in Munich. PSG obviously coming with a very, very slender league, but if it's like last week, it's basically pinball, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Bayern are going to be very, very pleased to only be going into this game with a goal down, coming back to Munich. So I don't think we can expect 9 goals again, but I certainly think both teams exploited the others, shall we say, for want of a better word, lackadaisical defending. But I think that's how either of these sides are going to win it if they're to progress and get to the finals, by outgunning teams. They are, along with maybe Barcelona, the best attacks in Europe. And if you can outgun teams, why not?
Would you say it's as simple as this? Whoever wins this is going to win the final, or is that disrespectful to Arsenal?
I'd make them. Yeah, I'd make them strong favourites, but it's a Champions League final. I mean, I went in last year thinking Inter were going to give PSG a right headache, and that promptly got killed after about 10 minutes. So it's a cliche, but you can't tell what's going to happen in the biggest game in club football. But whoever wins this tie should rightfully be installed as strong favourites, I think.
Okay, well, I mentioned Arsenal 8-13 to get the job done against Atleti inside 90 minutes. Bayern Munich, the same price to beat PSG inside the 90. Of course, a 1-goal margin of victory would take that tie to extra time. Very exciting game that for the neutral once again. We should just touch on the other European competitions, I suppose. And Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa, we spoke about it. One English team guaranteed a place in the final. Forest coming out well out of the first leg. It's very tantalisingly poised. Villa and Forest, as I speak, are sort of 2-1 joint favourites to win the Europa League. Felix, let's focus on the English tie. Where would your money be having watched that first 90 minutes last week?
Probably with Forest. I think they can go to Villa Park and get a draw. I mean, they rested the whole first team against Chelsea on Bank Holiday Monday and slapped them up. So the stars in inverted commas are going to be really ready to come in and put a performance in, having seen that, because there's going to be guys coming confident off the bench as well. And I think it'll be very finely poised, but I can see a draw as a very likely outcome. And obviously that suits Forest just fine. I think the first 20 minutes or so are going to be crucial, because I think Villa will just go all out in that first. And if they don't break Forest down in 20 minutes, I really struggle to see them then nicking a result to take it to extra time. So maybe I'd be on over first half goals, but Forest still to qualify, something along that angle.
Okay, yeah, and the draw on the night, which would be enough for Forest, is just shy of 3-1, 29-10 to 3.9 with Bet365. Yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm got a funny feeling for Forest there. They might have just given themselves enough of a platform to kind of defend for their lives. It's going to be a great watch again, as somebody with no skin in the game, but I am looking forward to it. And Freiburg and Braga as well. That will be whoever's waiting in the final there for them. So Conference League as well, Felix. Any closing comments on that before we move on to more domestic affairs?
Palace are making me a little bit nervous, having said that they're the best lay of the whole European competitions, but it was a pretty routine win out in Poland against Shakhtar. They should come back and ease through to the final in the second leg at Selhurst Park, and whoever they face, Vallecano or Strasbourg, I expect to give them a difficult game, but it was a very professional performance, I thought, last Thursday.
Yeah, and Palace at the moment are 1.6 best price to win the UEFA Conference League, with Vallecano second favs, but their ties very much still in the balance, whereas Palace appear to have more than 1 foot in the final, but we shall see. Well, that leaves us with some domestic action just to run through here, and the Premier League title race took another twist, didn't it, in midweek, with Manchester City dropping points at your side, actually, Felix. Everton 3-3 draw. It looked like it was going to be a win for Everton.
It should have been.
Jeremy Doku curling one in the 97th minute to get what may yet prove to be a vital point for Man City. But fair to say, the initiative has very much been handed back to Arsenal, who are now 1-5 with a lot of places, 1-4 in some others to win this league. City as big as 7-2 now with a lot of sports books. Do you think that was the killer blow, or do you still think there's another twist in this?
I mean, I didn't think either side would go unblemished for the rest of the run-in, so I think you're brave if you're going to back Arsenal at those prices, assuming that they're not going to stumble once more. Obviously, it gives them license to maybe draw a game now and still have the initiative, because City's goal difference advantage isn't what it was looking like it was going to be. They only beat Burnley 1-0 and then the draw last night. So I think, yeah, I don't see Arsenal winning every game from here on in, but they should still have enough. They know they've got the breathing room now. I think when City were breathing down the necks, that was when I could see them cracking. But with a bit of breathing room, I think they'll nurse their way over the line.
I think the big game is the next one for Arsenal. I think they go to West Ham, don't they? And it's like they should win on all known form and performance. They should win. But think of the extra, the West Ham situation as well, the London rivalry, the whole.
And if Arsenal win that basically keeps Spurs up as well.
Exactly. There's so many subplots to it, and I think if they can negotiate that game, I think they then have Burnley at home, who look a jaded outfit. They were battered by Leeds, and then I think it's Palace away on the last day, which,
yes,
to be honest, I think if they win the next two, they might already have won it by then. But
possibly,
yeah. So it's definitely advantage Arsenal. But I think this West Ham game, they could stumble, particularly if this Champions League game in midweek has gone to extra time. We shall see. But yeah, definitely advantage Arsenal in the Premier League. And then we're not going to do deep dives on these particular playoffs in this podcast. I will have some playoff stuff going up on oddsnow.com over the coming days. So if you want your playoff betting tips, then that's where you can head. But Just obviously the Championship, League One and League Two's lineups have been confirmed for the playoffs, Felix. I'm not going to put you on the line and say to give us like your best bet from each one, but is there a team in these playoffs across the three divisions that you would be particularly strong on, or one of the favourites that you maybe want to fade?
I like Chesterfield in League Two. They're actually 6-0 against their 3 playoff opponents this year, which I don't know how much you can read into that, but I think Paul Cook's built a very solid outfit there, and I think they were favourites actually when they snuck into the playoffs last year, and they didn't quite get over the line, but it's an outfit I really like, and they've impressed me in the last weeks, and I think they did really well to dispatch Swindon in that last day final day shootout. They'd be probably the one in the 4 in League Two I have the least question marks about. I might take on Saints in the Championship. I'm not fully decided yet, but they could be the ones. Obviously, they had this amazing run to get themselves in contention, and then even possibly automatics. And I don't know if that momentum they've peaked too soon. Potentially, they've probably still got the strongest set of players on paper, but I don't know. Playoffs do funny things to teams like that, don't they?
Well, yeah, it's very rarely that cut and dry, isn't it? With just picking the best side, and Saints have looked the best of these 4 sides in the closing weeks, but there's a long way between them and the Premier League still, and some tough games to negotiate. And I don't know, maybe it's just the chaos in me, but I would quite like to see Millwall in the Premier League just to see how that
not if West Ham go down though, that'd be really disappointing.
No, that would be unfortunate. Yeah, I'll give you that, but. Yeah, they'll certainly fancy them chances of getting to the final anyway against Hull side, who, let's be honest, limped into the playoffs. I think they had 1 win in the last 8 to get in there or something. So, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Well, Felix, it's just all action at the moment, and every day there's a pivotal game in the football season. And then once this domestic season wraps up in the next couple of weeks, it will be all eyes on the World Cup. And if you haven't already checked it out, myself and Felix are recording a 6-part mini-series looking ahead to the World Cup from a betting perspective. You've only got 5 weeks now until the big kickoff in the USA. It's ticking down rapidly, and we'll be recording another episode this week, won't we? But enjoying it so far, Felix. I hope you are too.
Absolutely, it's properly getting my taste buds ready for just wall-to-wall football for over a month.
Yeah, and still so many markets for us to troll through. So I look forward to catching up with you later in this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
No problem. See you soon.
Cheers, man. Well, good stuff as always from Felix there, who gave us his picks for the European semi-finals and his early leans for the playoffs. Let us know who you're backing for this year's EFL playoffs in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts on a little Championship, League One and League Two tricksy, perhaps. Next up, it's racing, and I'm delighted to say that Adam Smido managed to find some time in his busy schedule this week to talk to us and give us a little bit of a look back on what was an exhilarating weekend of action from Newmarket with the 2,000 and the 1,000 Guineas taking place. And we also had a little look ahead to the weekend coming up and a nod to what's happening on races now. Here's what Adam had to say. Well, it's great to be joined by Adam Smith once again to talk all things racing this week. And Smid, before we dive into next weekend's upcoming action, we should just reflect on the Guineas. A fantastic day for yourself, obviously. You've been banging the Bow Echo drum for 6 months now, best part of. So you must have been delighted to see him obliging such emphatic action.
I was. I really was. And I needed it, to be honest. I put up a couple of horses before that on Saturday on our Thursday show. One of them particularly ran absolutely stinking, called Ain't Nobody. I was really licking my wounds after that one. And then, yeah, it was all on Bow Echo for me. And like you say, I've been going on about it for so long that it was a payoff. But I'll tell you what happened, and I'll admit it, as a punter, as the race drew closer, I was starting to look elsewhere. I didn't go back in anything else, don't get me wrong. But I was starting to look elsewhere, and then it started drifting on the day, and I lost a bit of confidence. But none of the evidence had changed. The top 3 in the market the top 3 in the race, and the market had never run in 2026. So the evidence that I based my original selection on was still there. The horse had turned up on the day, which is half the job with anti-post betting. But yeah, he did start to drift. I think he went off around 9-2 in the end. He was, 11-4-ish when we spoke a week ago. So yeah, it went really well. 2 things really for the 2,000 Guineas. Either the front 2 were very good. Bow Echo looked really good. He was about 2 lengths in front of Gustad, and then the third and the rest of the field were a further 8 lengths back. So either those front 2 are very good, or the rest of them are pretty rubbish. It could be a combination of the 2. I thought it was, and I said to you last week, it was an under par renewal going into the race as a result of some horses falling away. Just a helicopter landing here at my unknown location. It's not mine. It might be our boss arriving at my unknown location today. We're going to find out how good Gustard is, how good Bo Echo is, and the rest as the season goes on. I thought he was really impressive. If you just take what happened on Saturday alone, I thought he was really impressive. He can only beat what's put in front of him, and he did that well. I think we'll get a rematch between Gustard and Bo Echo at Royal Ascot. Just a line on Gustard, he's never really a horse I've been massively affiliated with. I think he always finds one too good. He's now been second in 4 Group 1s, and he's only 3. Apparently, the paddock watchers were saying that he looked a bit chubby, will come on for the run, etc., etc. But that's not my area of expertise. So it was a successful day on the Saturday. On the Sunday, I lost straight up. I tried to take on what I thought were the non-stayers in the 1,000 guineas, and then conditions allowed those that had questionable stamina, True Love was one of them, it was fast ground with a tailwind. So if they were ever going to get a mile, Sunday was that day. I loved True Love last year and still do now, but I just didn't back her for the 1,000 guineas. And she went on to win that. My selections and FDs, because we agreed, were not good enough. Prettiest Star, obviously, we tipped her on Monday, each way 3 places. She finished 4th on the day when you could get 5 places. So that hurt a little bit. But yeah, a good weekend was had. Plenty of other races, probably too many handicaps. But yeah, I don't think we saw any real stars in the likes of the Pretty Polly and other listed races like that and the Palace House. But I think we did see a star in Bo Echo.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was reading a little piece about the sectionals of Bo Echo, and it seems like it was just a very strong performance. I think both can be true, can't they? What you say, it can be a below par renewal, but you can still have one exceptional horse in there, and it may be maybe that Bo Echo sort of dominates that mile kind of division this season. Just next steps for the 2 winners of the respective Guineas. Smid, where would you see them turning up next potentially?
So I think in the immediate aftermath, the obvious came out about possible Irish 2,000 guineas and then the St James's Palace at Ascot. The mile programme, particularly for 3-year-olds, pretty much writes itself. Bo Echo apparently has been ruled out of the Irish 2,000. They're going to give him a couple of weeks off. That is at the end of May, and they're going to point their guns at the St James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot. That's on day 1. A turning mile, a round mile with a bend, and he's already even money for that. Gustad could line up there, and possibly we're definitely gonna need some new blood in the division. I know it's early to say that, but with those other ones on Saturday being so far back, Distant Storm, the 3rd, already looks like he might want further. So yeah, we're going to need some new blood in that market. Now, whether that be a John Gosden horse that we've not quite seen yet, like Palace Pier a few years ago, he wasn't in the 2,000 guineas picture, but yet he turned up and won at Royal Ascot. Or are we going to get 1 or 2 from France? I think the French Guineas is this weekend. I think could 1 or 2 of them turn up at Royal Ascot possibly? But yeah, Bo Echo already looks the one to beat.
Okay, then looking ahead to next weekend before I let you go as well, or this coming weekend, I should say, we've got like a quality card from Ascot with loads of sort of sure to be competitive handicaps. We've got Lingfield's Derby trial, so the flat just continues to give us good early action, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's absolutely no hesitation in the season. So the Guineas is out the way now. Everyone is looking forward to the Epsom Derby, which really, is only just over 3 weeks away. We've got trials today on Wednesday at Chester. We've got both the Oaks and Derby current anti-post favourites running at Chester this week. I'm the one in the Phillies version, and Benvenuto Cellini in the Chester Vars. Again, Aidan O'Brien tends to dominate those races. I'm the one trained by John Gosden. She's the current favourite for the Oaks. So yeah, it's all about Derby trials this week into the weekend, and next there's the Lingfield Oaks and Derby trial. Then we'll be at York next week for the Dante and the races like that, the Musa Dura. So yeah, races that lend themselves to contenders for the Epsom Classics. There's I think it's called, I don't know what it's called nowadays, the Derrinstown Derby trial in the Curragh this weekend, or Leopardstown, whichever one it is, has got, I think and you looked yesterday, it had 9 entries at the 5-day stage. They were all trained by someone who had the surname O'Brien. Not the same person, 3 different people. Joseph, Donica and Aidan made up the whole field of the 5-day entries for the Chief Irish Derby trial.
Good to see the competition there. At least it runs in the family, at least. Okay, so we won't keep you any longer then, Smid. Thanks very much. But where do people head to if they want to see previews of this weekend's action?
Yep, so we always say Racers Now on YouTube, Twitter. We are every single Thursday. Looking forward to the Saturday racing and most Mondays. And I have to stress most Mondays, as this week was a bank holiday and SD and I decided to have a day off. So usually we look at an anti-post perspective on a Monday earlier in the week. We didn't do that this week. We had a day off. SD was at Fakenham. I was travelling back from Newmarket. But yes, we will be back Thursday. We'll be looking at all the action from Ascot. Haydock has got a mixed card at Haydock on Saturday. We'll be looking forward to that as well. The Swinton Hurdle, plus a couple of nice flat races as well. So yeah, Lingfield, Ascot, Haydock will all be covered on Racers Now on Thursday evening around 9 o'clock.
And I noticed Hexham are racing as well, so I'm pretty sure there'll be a mention of Hexham somewhere in that particular.
Yes, well, that I'm sure, Matt, will form a chief part of SD's daily tips that will be published Saturday morning, as usual. He had an absolute disaster at Hexham last week, let's be honest, but he does love the place, and I'm sure he'll be back for more.
Can't keep a good man down. Well, thanks for joining us, Smid. We'll see you again next week. Cheers, mate.
Thank you. See ya.
Top stuff from Smido, and as always, if you're not already doing so, make sure you subscribe to Races Now for the best free horse racing content on YouTube, bar none. Okay, last up as always, it's me, and I'm going to be taking a look at darts. But first, I just want to talk snooker and give a little nod to what was a fantastic World Championship. Now, we caught up with Adam Drury earlier in the piece, and he predicted his finalists as John Higgins and Wu Yi. So that was 2 weeks ahead of the final. And fair play to Adam, because John Higgins was edged out in an epic semi-final by Sean Murphy. But Wu Yiza did come through the other half of the draw and actually ended up lifting the trophy. Fantastic stuff. A 25-1 selection that was. And you couldn't say he didn't deserve it, although there was plenty of drama in those closing moments. Went to a final frame. Only the fourth time ever a Crucible final has gone to the final frame. But I think you have to say that Yiza was a deserved winner, having held his composure together following a little bit of a blink in the previous frame. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if this sort of Chinese domination continues in the coming years, because that's now 2 years in a row we've had a Chinese winner. Zhao Xintong breaking the duck last year. Wu Yiza following up in 2026. Looking ahead to next year's market, Xintong is the 9-2 favourite at this stage, and Yiza's second favourite at 6-1, ahead of the likes of Trump, Selby, O'Sullivan, Murphy, etc. So the market is very much suggesting that Chinese domination can and will continue in the World Snooker Championship. I just want to give a nod to a Chinese player that we haven't mentioned in this year's tournament because he didn't qualify, but he's as short as 22-1 for next year's event, and that is Chang Bing-Yu. Now, Chang was one of the several players who served a long suspension from the game for getting caught up in a match-fixing scandal a few years ago, and he's actually been out for 2.5 years until returning earlier this season. And remarkably, despite not qualifying for the World Championship, last week he actually pocketed a £172,000 windfall for the remarkable feat of knocking in 147s in 2 of the 3 Triple Crown events. Now, he didn't actually do it in the main tournament of either. He did it in UK Championship qualifying and World Championship qualifying. Didn't even qualify for the Crucible because he lost that game 10-8. But those 2 147s pocketed him the £147,000 bonus for the season. He got 10 grand for the highest break, and he got 15 grand for it in a 147 as well at the World Championship. So didn't even qualify, won £172,000. Sean Murphy has described him as, when he beat him at the Welsh Open, as the most amazing thing he's seen in 35 years of playing snooker. And the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan and Stephen Hendry have also sung Bing-Yu's praises. So if you do have a feeling that this Chinese domination is going to continue and you're looking for a little bit of value beyond Xintong at 9-2 and Yiza at 6-1, perhaps Chang Bing-Yu could be one to consider at 22-1. In terms of other names worth mentioning, this year's runner-up, Sean Murphy, that is now 3 finals he's lost at the Crucible, having won on his first attempt. He's 12-1 next year. Ronnie O'Sullivan, who had a disappointing early exit this time, is 9-1. And scrolling further down, Mark Allen, who had that heartbreaking defeat in the semi-final, is 28-1 for the 2027 World Championship. But a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and next year. It's been a fantastic couple of weeks at the Crucible, and I'm sure we will be talking snooker at some point between now and next year once again on this podcast. Now, in the world of darts, there's been more floor action this week, and once again, Wessel Nyman is the man making the headlines. Another win on the Pro Tour this season. He's already got 5, having only played in 12 events, and he's literally on course to match or break the record set by Phil Taylor of most Pro Tour wins in a single season, which is absolutely ludicrous when you consider that this guy was still waiting for his first senior win in PDC darts until the back end of last year. But I think that Nyman is it's a combination of factors here that's occurring. One, the fact that we do have a reduced field quality because the likes of Littler, I don't think Littler's been at a Pro Tour this year yet. The likes of Humphreys, Van Veen, Price, etc. are all missing a lot of floor events because of the Premier League. But I can also say honestly that even if they were turning up, I'm not sure they'd be beating Nyman in the form that he is showing consistently now. And this isn't just a purple patch. This is becoming his sort of standard setting. I think anyone that watches darts and has watched darts for a long time will know that Nyman has always had the ability. Like before he served his ban for match fixing, he was considered probably the hottest talent coming through the game in terms of youth players. But he has taken a while to sort of look settled, look like he believes in his full potential, looks reliable and comfortable. And he still has things to prove on the major stage. I mean, he's all well and good winning these floor events and playing a joke on the floor. I mean, we've seen players dominate on the floor before, the likes of Ian White, the likes of Andrew Gilding was a very good floor player for many years without really transferring it onto the TV. So Nyman does still have questions to answer, but I think everyone's very excited about Wessel Nyman quite rightly because we see that he has a ceiling possibly as good as Luke Littler in terms of his scoring ability. I mean, his scoring ability is a joke. And to me, it's all about whether he can just get those doubles a little bit more tidy and reliable. And if he does, the sky's the limit as to how many majors this guy can win. So I've been watching Nyman's World Championship price with interest because it was 33-1 as recently as a few weeks ago. Then he won his first European tour, and that seemed to bring a little bit of movement where people kind of thought, okay, this isn't just a floor event. He's won on the stage now. We could kind of trust him a little bit more. He's developing in a good fashion. However, he's continued to win and win and win on the floor, and he's just playing at such a spellbindingly good standard that bookmakers are considerably having to trim here. And as of this morning, Bet365 have gone 18-1 on him winning the PDC World Championship next January. Now, Sky Bet, Betfair, Paddy, etc., they were all trying to hold 25s as best they could. That has gone this afternoon. That's now 20. There are still some 25s floating around with soft books, but I honestly think that the way this is going, Wessel Nyman is going to be around a 16-1 shot to win the World Championship in the next couple of weeks. Anyone that wants to take a position on Nyman for this World Championship probably needs to do so now because there is a risk that he's not going to get any bigger if he can transfer this recent form onto some of the big stages that are coming up in the months ahead. Now, the key tournament is going to be the World Match Play, and Betfred are the title sponsors. They're already up for this. Now, on last week's show, I said that I'd be taking a little bit of the 20-1 on Wessel Nyman to win the World Match Play with Betfred. That is now 12-1. I don't know if that was just me that got that cut. I suspect it wasn't. I suspect other people have a similar line of thinking to me. But that could be the pivotal tournament for Nyman now, because if he can go and win the World Match Play or at least have a big run there, that will fill him with the kind of confidence he needs to go and compete in majors at the back end of the season. Now, it doesn't take much for these major prices to collapse because remember Jan van Veen, he was going off regularly at sort of 33-1, 50-1. I think a lot of people got on him for last year's World Championship. He makes a World Championship final. He's now not been bigger than single figures ever since for a TV tournament. And that's despite a pretty underwhelming time of things in the Premier League recently as well. So these markets do change quite rapidly based on one kind of big run. And I think when you consider the ability that Nyman has and the potential that he's just gone up a level and finally is ready to strut his stuff on the bigger stages, I do think that taking the 25-1, if you can, on him to win this year's World Championship is a really solid each-way bet that you just want to set and forget ahead of next December. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's episode of The Betting Breakdown. I hope you enjoyed this latest podcast. And if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button on the Odds Now YouTube channel. It really does help us grow. Let me know what you're backing this weekend and in what sport in the comments. If anything you'd like to see us cover in future weeks, do let us know. And if you haven't already, check out our World Cup podcast, episode 3, coming up on the YouTube channel this week. A 6-part mini-series getting you ready for the big tournament in the USA this summer. I've been Matt Hill. I'll be back on next week's Betting Breakdown. Until then, good luck and catch you soon.